What's good, YouTube? I am back to give you my reactions to UFC 259, which is just wrapped up, excuse me. I'm going straight off the dome with this shit, you know what I'm saying? One of these fights, really had me heated. Well, let's start off with the main event. Izzy moved up to 205 to try to become a double champ, took on the bigger Jan Blachowicz and was unsuccessful. The scorecards were 49-46, 49-45, 49-45, if I'm not mistaken. I thought the fight was closer than that. I scored it 48-47 for Jan. I thought Izzy won the first round, and the third round with his volume, picking at the legs, picking with the jab. Jan, I had Jan winning the second round. I think he landed more powerful punches. I think he just landed more punches in general in that second round. And then obviously the fourth and fifth went to Jan with the takedowns and just controlling him. But yeah, to quickly analyze the fight, I mean, the striking was closer than I expected it to be. Jan was biting on a lot of the feints and a lot of the fakes and twitchy movements that Izzy had, but Izzy wasn't really capitalizing on it, and Izzy wasn't really throwing as much volume as I thought he would. I think it's because he had respect for for the power coming back, but he was still having pretty good success. Like, if you just look at the first three rounds, you think, oh yeah, except for the judges, I think most people who aren't blind, who could actually watch and see the fight, be like, oh yeah, Izzy's technically better, and he's probably winning the exchanges for the most part, except for when Jan's landing power punches here and there. But yeah, that the takedowns, man. And the thing that I really liked about Blachowicz was he wasn't shoot like Izzy. Usually, when people shoot on Izzy, or at least at middleweight, when people shot at Izzy, he'd be able to get to the cage. So if people took him down, he'd be able to get to that cage and then help use the cage to help him get back up. Jan, I'm sure part of it has to do with the size. Part of it probably has to do with, for the first three rounds, he wasn't shooting on Izzy, so probably lulled Izzy into a state of thinking this was just going to be a kickboxing match. In that fourth round specifically, he got a takedown right in the middle of the cage, basically. Izzy had to work really. I don't remember if that was the fourth round or the fifth round where Izzy got close to the fence, but he had to really work to get close to that fence in whichever round it was. And then Jan, still was able to control him. And one of the rounds, I forgot if it was the second or the third, Jan was going for a takedown, and Izzy grabbed the top of the cage, which, that prevented another takedown, but it happens. I don't think it was severe to the point where a point needed to be taken off, but it was a pretty bad fence grab when you look at it. But yeah, Jan, he did his thing, and props to him. 100%, it should be him versus Glover next. I think that's a good stylistic matchup for Jan. I think Jan would be able to stuff Glover's takedowns, and he's much more. He's just much more technical, just better in every aspect on the feet, whether it's his power punches or just the technical skills. He's better than Glover on the feet. And I think he'd be able to stuff Glover's takedowns, man. Jan has a chance to be a long reigning champion, but Alexander Rakic is coming for that strap. But we'll get to him in a second. All right, so we basically went over that. Good effort by Izzy. He's going to go back down to 185. He should probably fight the winner of Whitaker Costa if Whitaker wins. If Whitaker loses, then it should be the winner of Vettori Till. So yeah, that's what should be next for Izzy. And now we go on to the co-main event, where Nunes, just like I expected, the greatest of all time, she's getting to the point where she needs to be considered the greatest of all time, man or woman. Simple. She destroyed Megan Anderson on the feet, rocked her multiple times, and then got an armbar. I think she got Megan out of there in under 2 minutes. What needed to be said? Nunes rocked her on the feet because Megan Anderson was leaving her chin open, a big looping overhand, connected, rocked her. And once it got to the ground, Megan shot for a takedown on Nunes, which is insane. Who would have thought that? And then once it got to the ground, we all knew how that was going. I thought it was going to be a second round submission for Nunes. She got the first round submission. Doesn't really matter at this point. She's the greatest. What else needs to be said? What needs to be next for Nunes is Valentina Shevchenko, or she could go down to 135 and fight. I don't even know. I saw Julia Pena tweet saying, Nunes, you need to fight me. I'm the next for your strap. That's so hilarious. Julia Pena got choked out by Jermaine Durandamy, who is a high-level kickboxer, but not a high-level grappler, and she got choked out by Jermaine Durandamy. She does not deserve a title shot. It's absolutely ridiculous, even considering giving her a title shot. The thought I always had was have Holly Holm fight Jermaine Durandamy at 135 and the winner fights Nunes next. But the only fight that's really going to, it doesn't matter. Like at 135, 145, there's no competitors. The only fight that could be competitive for Nunes is Shevchenko. But Shevchenko's fighting Andrade, which will not be an easy matchup for her. I do predict she'll probably still get the W, but that's not going to be an easy outing. Andrade gave Rose problems in both fights. She gave Joanna problems. The only person who she didn't give problems to was Wei Li, but Wei Li's a different monster. But I don't want to get down this rabbit hole of talking. And for Megan Anderson, I don't even know. Freaking, I don't even know who she fights. Like, maybe if the woman who's fighting Felicia Spencer wins, not if Felicia Spencer wins, but her opponent wins, then Megan Anderson can fight that person. And if that person beats Megan, then she's next for Nunes, I guess. But now we go to this fight, man. This fight pissed me off so bad. It was a fun fight. It was an entertaining fight. It was playing out basically exactly the way I expected to. I know I haven't really been on this YouTube thing. That's because I don't really like the production of video I'm putting out right now. That's not like an excuse or anything, but I don't want to be putting out a product that's not quality tier. And right now I don't really have the software or the money to get the software that would allow me to put out the quality content that I envision in my head. So for right now, when I feel like uploading videos, I will. Once I'm able to save up some money, get some quality software, do what I got to do. I'll be posting as frequent as possible, hopefully weekly, possibly twice a week. But as of right now, my uploads will be sporadic. But yeah, forget all that. This fight pissed me off so bad. Aljamain Sterling, who is around the area that I live in, from the Long Island area. I'm from the Long Island area. And, and even though, like, we're from the same area, I am a slightly bigger fan of Peter Yan because I've been a fan of him since his debut fight. I've seen his complete rise to the top. And just seeing him, I saw, I didn't see it when it actually happened, but I went back and watched his Magomedov fight, both of them. And from that, I concluded, Yan should be able to handle Aljamain. And he was. I mean, Yan won the first round because he dropped Aljamain hard with a nice right straight. Beautiful. Aljamain came back, won the second round. And then in the third round, it looked like Aljamain really started to gas hard. He looked like he really was starting to gas hard. All those takedowns, all that pressure. And Yan was just picking him apart, stuffing the takedowns. And this is the thing I noticed, or just from following his whole UFC career, I noticed Yan doesn't really initiate in the grappling exchanges unless someone initiates with him first. But once he actually engages in it, he's actually a really solid grappler. I mean, even today against Aljo Sterling, he got multiple takedowns against Aljo Sterling. He got Aljo Sterling's back multiple times in that fight. And yeah, I mean, Yan is a different savage. And obviously his stand-up's always superb. He was winning that fight. He won the first round. He won the third round. He was winning the fourth round. The knee was absolutely ridiculous, man. It was clearly an illegal knee. Apparently, Yan asked his coaches, do I hit? and the coaches said yeah punch or something like that, but he misinterpreted or whatever happened. I don't know. Some type of miscommunication happened where Jan need Sterling, and it ended in a DQ. I think two things. One, the fact that Sterling is walking out of there as champion is kind of not fair. Sterling was clearly gassing out. He was clearly losing. Somehow one judge had it 29-28 Sterling. It's absolutely ridiculous. You have to be picking at something thinner than even straws to be freaking coming out with Sterling having won two of those first three rounds. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Jan won the 1 and 3 clearly, and you can make an argument he won round two as well, but I didn't give him round two. But I mean, Sterling. The illegal knee was bad. You know, Jan was clearly winning the fight. Sterling was gassed. Sterling shouldn't have walked out of there as champion. I think personally, it should have been a no contest. Jan retains the champion on a technicality, and they run it back in around 5-6 months. Let Aljo Sterling recover because he that knee was bad. And I also saw people on Twitter saying, "Oh yeah, well, Aljamain Sterling's like he's faking. He's playing it up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm a fan of Aljamain Sterling. I'm a fan of Jan. But listen, no matter who I'm a fan of, my favorite fighter of all time is Khabib. Even if it's Khabib or Izzy, who I'm a big fan of, I'm not going to be unbiased. Like when I was scoring the Izzy fight, I'm an Izzy fan. But I wasn't biased. I scored it 48-47 for Jan. He won the fight. It's simple as that. It sucks that Izzy's no longer undefeated, but it is what it is. Same with Aljo Jan. I like I said, I like Jan slightly a little bit more than Aljo, but I really have much respect and I really like Aljo as well. And but the thing is even though I like Jan slightly a little bit more, there's no doubt that was an illegal knee, and there's no doubt Aljamain Sterling was seriously hurt from that knee. And I think him continuing to fight would risk his health because he was fucked up bad. I don't care what anyone says. That was a bad strike. That was a really, really, really bad strike. Like, I feel like the ref would have been irresponsible if he let Aljo continue to fight, especially with the lethal striking of Jan. Jan could have caused some serious brain damage if that fight continued. So I'm glad that the fight was stopped. But like I said, I would have had it as a no contest. Jan retains on a technicality, run the shit back. And in the interim, there's no doubt about it. It needs to be TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen. I saw Ariel Helwani tweet that. He's 100% on point. Former training partners. The Jan Sterling rematch has to be booked, especially since Sterling walked out of there as champion. That's what it has to be. It has to be Dillashaw versus Sandhagen for the number one contendership. That could even be the co-main. Now going on, I'm going to cover the last two fights because this video is getting pretty long. I'll cover the last two fights, and I may or may not upload a reaction to the prelims because the prelims were fire. They were just like firing off finish after finish, and there were some fun fights, man. I'm not going to lie. The third and fourth fight, I fell asleep during, so my analysis won't be that great. The Uros Medic fight, who I was very excited for. You know what I'm saying? I fell asleep during that fight versus Alan Cruz, but I'm pretty sure that one was short. And I was sleeping during the women's fight as well. I woke up just in time to see Sean Brady. So we'll see if I am in the mood to analyze it. You'll see if I upload the video, like if I upload a video on the prelim analysis or not. But yeah, there were some banger fights on the prelims. Some big names too. So, but we'll see. I'm pretty exhausted. It's 2 p.m. my time. 2 a.m. my time. So I'm pretty tired. But yeah, going into now Makhachev versus Dober. Complete domination. Makhachev, people may not like what I'm about to say. People may, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Islam, bro. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Islam. Islam is, I'm not going to say he's a better Khabib, but fundamentally he's better than Khabib. When you look at his takedowns, they're much less sloppy. When you look at Khabib, his takedowns in the center of the cage are sloppy. They're not a pretty thing to see. Once he gets it to the ground, his control is insane. But his actual takedowns and shots in the middle of the cage are not the prettiest thing. Once they're up against the cage, it's easy work for him. But in the middle of the cage, they're sloppy. Islam Makhachev, no doubt, like his takedowns in the middle of the cage were solid. Whether it was going for a single and then the knee tap, as DC said, trips, like Islam was doing it all. And Drew Dober, I felt bad. I basically knew this was going to happen. He was going to get dominated in the grappling. Islam Makhachev wasn't going to stand up for long periods of time because, like he said in the post fight interview, that would just be fighting stupid. Why fight stupid when you can take the easy route? That's exactly what he said in the post fight interview. So, and he's absolutely right. Why stand up and potentially get knocked out, which Islam's been knocked out before, when he could just wrestle this dude and dominate this dude? So yeah, man. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Technically, I think technically, fundamentally, he's better than Khabib, man. He has better striking than Khabib. Like I said, his takedowns in the center of the cage are better than Khabib's, but Khabib has control and he has proven against top contenders he is the best. So I'm not going to say he's overall better than Khabib. He has a long way to go to do that, but he's looking promising. He should fight. There's a bunch of fights for him. He could fight Kevin Lee. He could fight RDA. He could fight Paul Felder. He could fight Tony Ferguson. He could fight Dan Hooker. There's like so many fights for Makhachev. His trajectory is only one way, and that's upward. And for Drew Dober, maybe Alex. No, he just knocked. I was gonna say Alex Hernandez, but he just knocked out Alex Hernandez. He's gonna need to take a step back in competition because he was getting a ranked dude, and maybe he fights like Arman Saryugian or something. I don't know. The 55-pound division, there's just like murder's row of just contenders. There's just him versus Renato Moicano would be an interesting fight. Or no, not even Renato Moicano. Him versus the guy who knocked out Renato Moicano. I forget his name. Fiziev. Rafael Fiziev versus Drew Dober would be a fun fight. Interesting fight for Dober. And Rakic versus Santos. In my head, I was thinking, this fight could potentially be boring. Because they're two power punchers, they're gonna be they're good counter strikers as well. They might be a little tentative, but I kind of brushed it off. I was like, nah, not Thiago, not Alexander Rakic. And when I say boring, I mean it wasn't like big time strikes, big time aggression. You know what I'm saying? Possibly putting yourself in harm's way. Like that's what I mean by exciting. Like it was a high level kickboxing fight. I mean. And Rakic's light kicks, just his kicks in general, just have extreme pop to them. Watching Rakic kick is such a beautiful thing. I love to watch Rakic kick. He has some of the best kicks in MMA, in my opinion. I think he has better kicks personally, in my opinion. I think he has better kicks than Izzy. And Izzy's a really good kicker. I think Rakic has better kicks than them. He keeps them tight, quick, sharp, and then the pop, man. You really hear those kicks, dude. Like, I really like Rakic's kicks. But yeah, he clearly won that fight. I mean, Rakic, it kind of sucks that Izzy lost for Rakic's sake. Because if Izzy won, he could have fought Glover for like a number one contendership spot while Izzy goes back to 185. But now since Jan won, Jan's defending it against Glover next. So it's going to be an interesting position for Rakic, who he would fight next. The idea I had was maybe he fights the winner of Yuri Prochazka, or whatever that guy's name is, who starts Volkan, versus Reyes. The winner of that fight can fight Rakic for a number one contendership match. I think that's a pretty good idea. And yeah, that's the main card. I thought the prelims, in terms of the quality of fights, let me rephrase that, not in terms of quality, in terms of entertainment, like in terms of finishes, you know what I'm saying, excitement, they were probably more entertaining, more exciting. But the main card was just full of technical fights. Izzy versus Jan Blachowicz was a slower paced fight. I was thinking in my head this whole week, Jan versus Izzy was going to be very much like Izzy versus Tavares, and except for Izzy's inability to to defend takedowns, it was very similar to Izzy versus Tavares, in my opinion. Um, but his inability to defend takedowns, especially like in that fourth and fifth, is what cost him and what prevented it from being almost a carbon copy, in my opinion, from that fight. But yeah, it was very high level. Every single fight was high level. I think Aljamain Sterling in the rematch, he's going to be come back with better cardio. So I think Jan's going to have a tougher fight. And Nunes is the best. Is he going to go back down to 185? Jan's going to keep defending at 205. Rakic is a promising contender, soon to be title challenger, I assume. And Islam Makhachev is actually the new Habib. I hope you guys enjoy. Like I said, this shit was off the top of my dome. And yeah, y'all have a good night. Hope y'all enjoyed the card because it did not disappoint in my opinion. So yeah, take care. I'm gone.